welcome to Baking and Books. My name is Lexi and I'm an amateur baker who loves to read. So each week I post videos of myself attempting to bake something new while also talking about a book that I have recently read or just really love. This week I'm going to be making a Butterfinger Pie and it is because it goes with the book that we're talking about. We're going to be talking about A Little Bit Wicked by Kristin Chenoweth. I know. I circled back to another autobiography, and I apologize ahead of time. But I'm trying to reread some of the stuff that's already on my shelf, and like my shelf is situated alphabetically, so this is one of the first things, you know, don't judge me about how I alphabetize. I know people do different things, like based on if it's like an A at the beginning or the at the beginning, whatever. To me, it's like this is an A, standalone, so it goes at the beginning of my bookshelf. Anyway, I love Kristin Chenoweth, and this is a really fun read, and she gives instructions on how to make her Butterfinger Pie. I think she calls it like her no calorie or no calorie left behind Butterfinger Pie. So I'm going to make that today because she gave us the recipe, and I feel like it fits. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, you're supposed to have 6 king-sized Butterfingers, and I could not find king-sized Butterfingers at the store for the life of me. So what we got is 2 bags of fun-sized Butterfinger, and we're just going to throw them into these bags and then mash them up. So let's start with the synopsis, as always. This is an autobiography, so it is about Kristin Chenoweth. If you don't know who that is, it's probably because you're not a huge theater person, and that is okay. I recognize that, but I'm going to teach you. So if you don't know Kristin Chenoweth by name, you may still recognize her. She's been in quite a few like TV shows and movies throughout her career, but she got started because she's a performer. So I feel like most people, and of course it is one of the reasons why her book is titled what it is, most people know her as Galinda in Wicked, in the musical Wicked. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest it. They are going back on tour, and I know that because I'm seeing them next week in Dallas, and I'm very excited about it. This will be my 4th time seeing Wicked, but my fiance has never seen it, and I'm so excited. I'm just like so excited for him to experience it, and I don't know if he'll love it or not, but I'm gonna love the whole thing from start to finish. So anyway, she's best known for that, but she was in a lot of other things. The very obscure TV show Pushing Daisies, she's in that. If you haven't seen that, it's currently on HBO, and it is beautifully cheesy and wonderful. Check it out. Also, this is kind of a random one, but I used to watch the movie RV with Robin Williams all the time. She's in that. So, you know, a variety of things. So this book is basically her experiences growing up and getting into the performance world and doing all of her training and kind of just what it's been like, and you know how she got her start and the work that she had to do and kind of the ups and downs of relationships and all of that. It's a little bit choppy, which if you've seen I think it was my first Julie Andrews video, I said I don't typically read autobiographies because I feel like they're pretty choppy, or they at least tend to be, which I guess if you're talking about your life, I can understand, like, where do you even begin? What is going to be interesting to everybody? For me, it's just like, you know, chronological, my dude. Like, just start at the beginning and walk me through it. But in any case, it is a little choppy. That's my one critique. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, like, where we're at. But it's really cute and really fun. And if you're a fan of Kristin Chenoweth, you definitely want to read it. It is so much fun to kind of get a peek into her life. This may be too much Butterfinger. Like, I'm starting to think 2 bags of this is maybe way more than 6 king-sized Butterfingers. But I also have a little bit more whipped cream than I need. So maybe I'll just put both containers of whipped cream, or Cool Whip, I guess, together and just roll with it. And maybe the pie will just be a little bit bigger than is normal. We'll see. Okay, so if you haven't read this book and you want to, and you don't want spoilers, go ahead and skip forward to the end where it says no more spoilers, because from here on out I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about the book and get into my thoughts on it as I continue to put this pie together. But if you skip forward, you'll still be able to see how my pie turns out. If you have already read this book or you don't care about spoilers, then go ahead and stay with me. This doesn't really require a lot of baking. It's mostly just putting stuff together, so it's not going to be a super long video. It's not going to take me that much time. But like I said, this is a recipe she gave us in her book, so I just thought it would be fun to make. So stay with me if you want to, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. All right, I think we're ready to pour these in here. I pounded them up, so hopefully they're small enough. There's a couple of big pieces I may just take out. But on to the book. One of my favorite things that I noticed right away about reading this story and just about Kristin in general is I just feel like she's so adorable and she's real. I don't ever feel like she's trying to put on an act or, you know, be somebody she's not. And while I say that, I understand that she's an actor. Like, that is what she does for a living. So, you know, some of you may be sitting there being like, yeah, but that's like literally her job is to fool you. You're right. But I just mean, when I read the book, I just feel like she is genuine. And that's something that you don't always get from people. And I promise I won't spend too much time on this. But I just feel like, especially because she is a believer in God, I feel like she's able to talk about it without it being aggressive or like in your face. Now, that being said, I too am a believer in God. And so, you know, maybe me reading it as somebody who already is a Christ follower, I have a different viewpoint. So, I mean, honestly, like, please be able to keep it civil, but I would love to hear other people's thoughts and, like, what you experienced reading this book, especially if you don't consider yourself to be a believer, and, like, how you thought it came off, if you thought it was genuine or if it was something you tired of hearing. I would love to have that discussion with you. Again, keep it civil, but that was just one thing that I noticed about her was she just felt very genuine, and I feel like you don't always get that with celebrities, especially celebrities that chose to write their own book about themselves. We are going to put both things of Cool Whip in because that's who we are today. I also have a huge respect for her just because she did the grind, you know, like she was there in New York, living with multiple roommates, feeling like she's barely surviving, going to auditions, constantly being told no, and then when she does get jobs, she's taken out of the city that she wants to be in so badly, and, you know, a lot of her projects fall through, and I just respect that. You know, it didn't happen overnight for her. It was something she had to work really hard for. Not saying that, like, if you're, like, an overnight sensation, you're not a hard worker, but it's just that I feel like a lot of people think, oh, this person suddenly came into the spotlight, they must have just gotten one really lucky audition. And I think it can feel that way sometimes, but as an actor, those people have probably gone to so many auditions and done small jobs and worked little things here and there and been told no so many times. And it's just that now they're being cast in this big role on television or in a movie and you're seeing them all the time. So you think, oh, it just happened overnight, but it doesn't. And I respect that she definitely had to go through that grind, for sure. The other thing that I thought was really interesting, I mean, obviously, I just said I'm a huge fan of Wicked. It was, you know, one of the first things that I really, like, that really got me on the path to, like, being more serious about theater. Like, I've always wanted to be an actor, but I guess I just always thought, oh, you absolutely have to be in movies or television. Like, I guess I just didn't realize that the community theater I was doing every summer and, you know, throughout the school year sometimes too was an option all the time. Like, I didn't realize I could do what I actually really loved as a job. And getting introduced to Wicked was one of the things that made me first realize, like, that was definitely the career path I wanted to go down. So I have huge respect for Kristin Chenoweth and Idina Menzel because they were some of the first people in the industry that I really looked up to and respected. And I think it's interesting to read about, like, how long she had to work on Wicked. Like, it was multiple years that she was workshopping this show and all the things that changed and the casting things that changed. And I think it's just the reality that, like, those things, I mean, Wicked has been a success since it opened, which was, like, over 15 years ago. Coming up on, like, I think 2003 will be its 20th anniversary. So, you know, but those things don't happen overnight. Like, you have to work so hard at them, and actors come in and out of different roles. And so I loved hearing her talk about that. And don't get me wrong, I loved hearing her talk about her other jobs too. I mean, she does talk about pushing daisies and some of the other cool things she got to do, like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. But Wicked, like I said, is just something that really inspired me. It's one of my favorites, so it's something I always came back to. All right, this is going to go in the freezer. Her recipe does not say how long to put it in the freezer, so we're going to go for an hour. It will not feel that way on camera, obviously, but we're going to go for an hour and see if that does the trick. And of course, like, circling back around, like, I know a lot of theater people say that Wicked is, like, you're not supposed to like it if you're a hardcore theater person. It's what my friends and I sometimes call, like, a gateway musical. So it's so big, and the spectacle and the plot is really easy to follow, and it's based on something that most people know growing up, which is The Wizard of Oz. So it's easy to get into it. Like, Hairspray, Mamma Mia, those are all big spectacle shows with big, loud music. Those are also gateway musicals. And it basically just means that that's how people get into musical theater. But there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with liking Wicked. Even if you've seen, like, some of the most obscure musicals you can ever think of, it doesn't mean you can't like something like Wicked. It's such a great show. It's very much girl power. It's very much, like, friendship-based. And it's just so cool to see how the story of The Wizard of Oz that we all grow up knowing is sort of changed in this idea of, like, a prequel, basically. I've never read the book, just as, like, a side note. I had a friend that read it. I can't remember if it was my best friend that read it or somebody else. It didn't strike me as something I really liked. I think the book is a lot darker and a little bit off track. I think the musical is a lot more, like, bright and emotional and all of that. And even as somebody who loves, like, Tim Burton and Stephen King, I feel like the musical is more my style. But maybe someday I'll read the book and do a video on it. I don't know. But I just loved getting to hear her stories and all the things that they went through, and getting that behind-the-scenes look is something that always makes autobiographies so much fun, is when they talk about those things that they're so well known for, and you get to have that behind-the-scenes look. That's just something that I really love, and I love that Wicked is such a huge part of her life, because it was also a huge part of mine, and still is. I mean, like I said, I'm so excited to see it next week, and I can't wait to share that experience with my fiance. So it was just really cool getting to dive in deeper into her world. Okay, if you left because of spoilers, go ahead and come back and join us. We're about to take our pie out of the freezer. I don't think it needed a full hour. The plan was to leave it in there a full hour. It was only in there about a half an hour, and I honestly think that it's okay. Now, it probably could go in for longer, but I think the goal is just to get it to set a little bit, so I think we've achieved that, and we're going to cut it open, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be amazing. I don't want a very big piece because I feel like this is going to be really sweet with all this Butterfinger and whipped cream and all of that. Okay, it might have used a little bit more time to set up. It's a little goopy. But, you know, to be fair too though, I did put a lot of the whipped cream and Butterfinger mix into it because I had a lot of the Butterfingers. So I think that maybe with a little bit less, it would have come out a little bit smoother. Okay, but let's taste it. I mean, this is a win for sure. This is so good. I went ahead and put it back in the freezer just for, like, my own experiment to see if it does get any more set up and if there's a certain time limit it should be in there. Because, like I said, there isn't a time limit in the recipe for how long it should be in the freezer. So I was thinking an hour. We had 30 minutes, and it's decently set up, but it could probably use a little bit longer. However, it is still delicious. I didn't even realize I liked Butterfinger like this, but I definitely do now. Well, I would definitely say this was a huge success. If you have any other recipes that you want me to try, please send them my way. This was pretty easy. Just throw everything together and freeze it. But it's delicious, so it's definitely one of those things you could just, like, throw together for a quick party or a Sunday brunch. I don't know, whatever. It was really easy to make, but also super delicious. I do recommend reading this book, especially if you're a fan of Kristin Chenoweth. You definitely want to read this book and get a little bit more insight into her life. It's a little choppy, but otherwise she's very funny, very real, very, like, down to earth, and it's a really good read. If you have any other book recommendations, please send them my way. I would love to have them. And try to remember that when you're shopping, if you can shop local or just rent it from your local library, those are awesome options. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you had a good time, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to be here for you every single week. It's always a little bit of fun and maybe a little bit of a hot mess, so you definitely want to hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this one, and I will see you guys next time.